Welcome back, everyone. This is still week 2 in this mind-body exploration practice, and it should be days 4, 5, or 6 of this week. And this exercise is about upper-lower connectivity. Today we will begin exploring the connection and expression between your upper body and your lower body. So begin by lying on your back with your knees up and your feet planted on the floor in line with your hips. It may feel like you're standing on your feet, even though you're laying down. Confirm your body's connection with one of your legs as a supporting leg by pushing down through the earth, giving it your weight. As you do this, send a line of energy through to the inner abdominals on that side and out your head, sensing a grounding of your hips and your foot. I will refer to your hips as your pelvis in this exercise. At the end of an exhalation, activate low and deep within your pelvis to let your leg lift and move toward your chest. As this happens, the tissues in the front of your pelvis will fall back and in toward your spine, and your back will lengthen. Try not to pinch the leg toward you. Only allow what movement you have in your hip joint. It should not feel congested or squashed, but have a sensation of open space. Not forcing the movement can release tension in the low back and on the outside of the leg. To return your foot to the floor, begin the releasing phase of the movement by activating your hamstrings, which is the muscles in the back of your leg, just underneath your bottom. Bring your thigh down and plant your foot firmly on the floor, sensing again your grounding from heel to pelvis and from the ball of your foot through your inner leg. Feel the line of energy continue through your inner abdominals and out your head. Some people find it helpful to use their own touch to bring sensation to the hamstring to begin this action. To locate the area where this movement begins in your hamstrings, find the bones you sit on in your pelvis and trace a line from there 1 or 2 inches directly toward your knee on the back side of your leg. This is the beginning place for the movement. Now use a firm, direct stroke coming down toward your pelvis to stimulate sensation in your hamstring and confirm for yourself where the action of releasing the joint begins. This should help you to come more solidly into a stable stance as your foot returns to the ground. Check that you are not using your stabilizing leg as the initiator for either the lifting phase or the releasing to the floor phase. Continue laying on your back, knees up, feet on the floor. Allow your spine to continue to be neutral or relaxed with your own natural curve. If you're having trouble finding neutral, arch your spine as much as you can. Then tuck your pelvis forward as much as possible in the other extreme. Try one and then the other. Then release and sense your natural curve. Now simply press down through your feet into the earth and release your pelvis about 1 inch from the floor. While you're there, with your pelvis released from the floor, explore the sensations of connection between your feet with your pelvis. Let your weight be more on the balls of your feet, and sense the connection from the ball of the foot through your inner thighs to your inner abdominals. Play a little bit with your weight shifting back and forth between your heels and the balls of your feet. Then ground your foot by stabilizing your weight in both areas, enjoying the connections from the back of your legs into your pelvis and through the inner legs into the front of your pelvis. Notice that when you experience your grounding, you also feel more centered. To return your pelvis to the floor, release in your hip joints directly down to the floor. Do not roll down through your spine. Enjoy your neutral spine and let your hips make the change. This trains your back to perceive your hips as the major location for change in your lower body, not your low back. Now shift your weight onto your feet again and release your pelvis about 1 inch from the floor. Explore tiny shifts of weight in different directions, still keeping your spine neutral. Push from your feet and let your weight slightly shift toward your head. Then pull through the back of your legs and let your weight slightly shift toward your feet. Remember to allow your breath to be full and let the energy at the end of your exhalation run through your torso and out your head. Tune into the sensation of your inner core as you go through a range of tiny weight shifts. Let your weight come to center. Are you able to sense any changes through your inner core? When you are sensing these changes, let's add another possibility by first releasing your pelvis to the floor, then planting both feet again. At the end of your exhalation, push down through your feet to feel again like you are standing. Your pelvis will be about 1 inch off the floor. Shift your pelvis to one side by yielding and pushing through your feet and reaching and pulling through your pelvis toward the side which you are going. Then release your pelvis to the floor. It might feel like you're shifting a typewriter carriage as you move the lower half of your body. As you shift, you'll notice that your pelvis will go further out to the side, not up towards your ribs. If your pelvis is going up towards your ribs, you are tipping your pelvis, not shifting your weight from the lowest area. After shifting your pelvis to the first side, push down on the floor with your feet and lift your pelvis to the other side. Then release it to the floor. Do this a few times, going back and forth from right to left with your pelvis. Now, to experience your upper body, come to standing or sitting with your arms down at your side. Try the two following experiences and compare them for yourself. In the first movement, take your right arm out to the side and up to the ceiling until it is directly above your shoulder joint. Begin this movement from the top of your shoulder blade, or top portion of your back and shoulder joint. Does your arm still feel connected down into your lower body? Do your neck and head feel free to move easily? Sense how your body is feeling for a moment, and maybe do the movement a few times. In the second movement, again, take your arm above your shoulder joint by going to the side and up. But begin to move your arm by initiating from the lowest point of your shoulder blade or middle portion of your back, connecting it down toward your tail. Your shoulder blade will descend slightly before it begins to spread away from your center, sliding on your ribs. As your arm arrives above your shoulder joint, notice if your arm still feels connected to your lower body. Are your neck and head free to move easily? Feel this in your body for a moment, and you can do it a few times. Hopefully, from doing these two exercises, you discovered for yourself that the second movement provides both a greater sense of connected stability and a greater sense of easy mobility or movement. And you could probably tell that the second one was easier to do, and there was less tension in your neck and in your shoulder. The main focus of this exercise is to find where the movement begins that brings the greatest ease and connection to the lower body. The first movement was not connected to the lower body, it was just the arm. But the second movement used the connection of your body to lift your arm. You may want to test the differences again, this time with your left arm, and try both exercises a few times. The first one lifting from the upper shoulder, and the second one using your back and your inner core muscles. Okay, this is the end of our exercise for today. But during your day, it might be interesting to notice the difference between the stability of your lower body and the amount of movement possibilities in your upper body. Notice when you stand, where's your weight? Is it on your heels, your toes, or both? Where do you find your stability? When you sit and reach for things, say at the dinner table or at your desk, where does this movement come from? Do you tense your upper back to start the reaching process, relying solely on your arm? Or does it begin from the grounding of your solid pelvis through your inner core and out your hand?